Good evening. This is the Elliott Wave Daily Update for the NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500 from Monday, August 5th, 2024. It all really started yesterday now, didn't it? In that if you check in when Globex opened and we gapped lower, and then we didn't stop. And we went down to a low here in the NASDAQ future at 17,351. And then we started to bounce. Came once down again and tested it, and then we continued to bounce. So I could really fill this in with an could be, should be, maybe, but I'm going to leave it blank. And here's why. I was talking with Sascha. As you know, Sascha is my colleague, and we're doing the trade room together. And so we were discussing pattern, we were discussing the Elliott, and Sascha was presenting back to me that this, if I take this out and we look at it on a daily chart, you can see it's quite fast. We figured that the high was on July the 11th, and this is August the 5th. So it's not even a month, and we're already at goal, so to speak, for a minor fourth wave, finding its endpoint within the area of the price territory of the fourth wave of one lesser degree, which is right here. We are there. It can go a little bit more, but technically on a daily chart, we're there. If I bring it down and I put it on the hourly chart, it's a little bit different. Not by much, but it's a little bit different. So I started to, we discussed, and Sascha's point was that if we just use the time fractals, the Fibonacci time fractals, as compared to what we're counting as a fourth wave, compare it to wave two. And time-wise, it's way short of the expected amount of time this wave four should stay in process. And that would be the minor four. And I thought, okay. And part of the reason is because we've gone so deep. So the thought pattern behind that then comes in that it may be something bigger that's starting to happen. And I thought about it and we discussed it, and it is a conversation that needs to be had. So that's what I'm going to lay out tonight, and it's actually what's coming from both Sascha and myself. And so we're using Fibonacci time fractals, time sequences, to put out how far should this wave go? How long should it take? Now, so to be an ABC and then to put a 4 down here did not fit necessarily for Sascha. And I accepted that. And then I went and I was doing my own update, doing the chart, and I thought, okay, but what could it be? And to fit more the time fractal, to fit that time period that really, I think, takes us out to late August, maybe even September. And so the next two big options expirations are August, the monthly, and September, the monthly. And so to have this stretch out to then, before we were to finish it, is very possible. So what would that entail when you're going to go look at the Elliott? Well, it definitively could be an ABC. And maybe there's a little bit more before C is complete, because this looks like 3. Even if it goes back up, it still, I think, could be considered corrective in terms of there's another leg down to come. Now, but still, ABC. Now I'm going to pull it out 1. I'm going to go to the 4-hour. I don't want everything else to get in the way. So I'm going to open this up. So what we have is you're trying to count this. What is it? Fast. That's what it is. So there's a gap right there. And so there's the possibility it can come up to the gap and then go down again. So all of that in existence, if it's an ABC collectively, can be an ABC right now. Could this be an X wave? And then does it turn into a Y? Does it turn into a W? Does it turn into a Z? So those patterns. But as an Elliotician, an older Elliotician, it, in my mind, is a double ABC or a triple ABC. Now, a double ABC is not uncommon. Or, get this, could it be an ABC and it's going to start to form a triangle? And this is wave A, and then B is going to come inside of it, and C is going to come inside of that, D is going to come inside of that, E is going to come inside of that, and we explode. So up in a minor wave 5 or higher degree. So, and then do it again, right? So ABC X, so you're going to get 3 waves, and then another ABC. And it stays all within a wedge and all within that time fractal. So I believe we can start to put something together to say, yes, more time may be needed before this is complete. And that would either continue to open the door for a stronger downside move. Again, the fractal. But if that's the case, then we want to look at, well, what is it on an Elliott basis? If it's not a minor 4, what is it? So those are our conversations. I'm presenting that now. I'm going to do it both for the NASDAQ and for the S&P because they exist in both places. So I'm putting the conversation out to us that this is, I believe, where we're at. And what I'm taking out is the geopolitical, the political, the economic, taking that out, and I'm just looking at technically what the market is doing. And so different factors come in. And what I tend to include is things that I derive from spot gamma in terms of call wall, put wall, the flows, the capital flows, the gamma flows, the option flows. So all of that, it has an effect on how the markets trade. Volatility now has an effect on how our markets trade, whether volatility is suppressed or whether volatility is being released via an action in the market. And so what we're seeing is a reaction from the market to worldly events, national events for us here in the US, and just, I guess, a dose of reality. So I'm leaving this open. Now, again, for right now, we are leaving it that it's a minor 4th wave. And so we have a minor 5th wave to do, completing an intermediate 3rd wave, and then we come down in an intermediate 4 and go back up again. So, but this is strong. Hands down, when you're in there and you're looking, you're going like, wow, the NASDAQ is down over 1,000, which it was overnight. Where I live, it was overnight. If you were in Europe, it was during your day. And yes, it makes it more interesting because the markets are really moving. So here we are, NASDAQ, leaving it as a minor 4. I'm leaving it as an ABC. If I'm going to count in the C wave, what is it? It's difficult. Look at 1, 2 little tiny bars in terms of the decline. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Could be. Could be. Of what? Well, it could be a C. By the way, 17,351 is a lot closer to that larger number we find out here. And that one, again, is 17,350. I'll do it right. 17,371. Wow, we did break it. Not by much. So it is kind of going and parking itself right there, and it rallied. So it could be, if we're taking this piece of information against this piece of information. Collectively, when I come back in and I go back down to that 4-hour chart, it doesn't fit because I can't get 5. I can down to here, but this is turning into 3. And even if it goes up and fills this gap, it's likely going to remain 3. So it is telling us that there's still something bigger to come in. And what could that take us? It could drop us down to this next level, which I've discussed. Now, as is, this level represents 50% for the minor wave 4, and that's 16,390. 1.618 is where wave C would be 1.618 times the length of wave A, and that is 16,318. Now, it may stop there, because if I'm saying this is 3, that's 4, and we're coming down in a 5, within C, it could come down here. And then we still can go into an ABCX and another ABC. So this could drag on. And then it's going to become more sideways. It starts to form boundaries, and whether it goes above or below the boundary could be indicative of what comes next. So we've got to let it come out. We've got to let it flow out, and we give the levels. Because here again, when it gapped, that was a clue. And then it not only gapped, but the gap ended up being the high for the session. And it's like, wow, because it just went straight down from there. Okay, so moving averages. Remember that we're lining them up. This is the 4-hour chart now. There's the 200, there's the 50, the 20, and the 13. 13 goes flat simply because of the close. The 200 and the 50 are turning. The 20 has turned, but looks like it might want to go flat because of the buy pressure. So now tomorrow morning, I will, in the trade room, talk about the different flows and how they can have an effect, and volatility, and looking at the volatility, because it did have an effect today. That will all come in. Those are parts that are going to be in the new trade room. This is what I've been talking about, that this is the value add, because this is more detailed technical analysis and pulling in fractals and pulling in the Fibonacci, the basis of Fibonacci. And yeah, so that's what's going to be in the trade room. Okay, now I'm going to go over and take a look at the S&P, which also has a very interesting, same type of a picture. It has been, now take a look. This is the 4-hour chart. It's just like, bam. Now, again, the ES is not down to this level, which is 5,026. Do I think that 5,000 is going to get challenged? I actually do. And so the big test here in the S&P is going to be 5,000 is reported to be long-term support. It has held. It has held successfully for several months. So it becomes a very strong pull. And if it's punctured, it may be strong enough to push it, not, that it doesn't get through. But if it does puncture and damages the put wall, and suddenly it just like opens the floodgate, then we could drop. We could drop very strongly. And there's our next level, 47.80. And that's 50%. So folks, what I'm doing is I'm taking out the speed, and I'm just saying, technically, that's your next level. How each one of us wants to then interpret that and do what they want to do with it. 5,000, very important support. If it breaks strongly, like as if it didn't exist, that would be strong. Then these are your next levels. Things become magnetized, right? In terms of the algorithms, they become magnetized, and these levels get put in, and they will get to if we get the break. If it holds, then we could see that either it's going to be an A or an ABC and then an X. Or maybe this is the ABC and we're in the X now, and we do another ABC. All right, so I'm going to open this up. We just went over that we're not there yet, but we're closing in on it, right? We're closing in. This is 5,000. And this we got as low as 51, let's call it 59.1979, but 51.20. And so, you're within spitting distance, as they say. So that is expected to hold simply because of the size of the positions that are there. All right. Now, could it be that we come down, test it, and we complete wave C, and then we go into an X wave, and then another ABC? Or could it be ABC minor 4? I would not jump to the conclusion that it could be minor 4. There are too many other things that would have to happen within the market for it to really be conclusive that it was the minor 4 was done and the minor 5 was coming in place. So what are we looking at? On the 4-hour chart, the RSI has bounced, and it bounced right off of that low. And that was a fast low, by the way. It was like bam, bam. And then it just kind of picked up and moved away from it, which does give it more, I guess, support, right? Now, ABC. I'm going to go out to the daily and open it up. And here it becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, okay, so is it a 3? Is it a C? Could be. But look how fast. So we're back to the conversation that Sascha and I were having. The time doesn't fit. We can pull this out one more, and we look at it on this level. And Sascha and I had a discussion about the count, the labeling. And so there are several interpretations, as there should be. And so what we're going to have to decide is what's the preferred and what's the alternate, and what are the implications of them. So I think that's going to be smart. There are a lot of things that go into everything that's here, but on the weekly chart, we're looking at that as compared to this, and which is fine. And the time fractal, and then the time fractal. And it does go out. So, and as I mentioned to Sascha, and I also talk here, that the next big events in terms of options expirations are going to be the August expiration and the September expiration. I'll climb into that we have a very boiling hot geopolitical situation. It's just a matter of when. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when and by what means. So it's like Sascha brought in, this, because Europe gets its news that there were supposedly 25 Russian cargo planes that landed in Iran, and supposedly with military equipment. And so, and you've got the United States on the other side sending ships and military equipment to the Mediterranean front. And so that's getting kind of red hot. What's it going to be? Well, I think we'll find out. So what could drive the market? Well, that would be one thing. Market doesn't like to be shook up like that. But right now, we're covered down to 5,000. And we're actually covered down to 4780. That it still could be just a 4, and then we rise. Technically, that's the picture. Subject to change. And that's what we're beginning to talk about. And again, I invite now, not criticism, just, conversation about what the time factor and what is it. Now I'm going to kick back down because I do want to take a peek at it. I'm going to go to the hourly chart because that's the C. Now, that's what we're looking at. A little bit more defined here. So what we can say 1, 2, and then we just get this 3 coming down to, I believe, here. And that's a 4. I don't know. I think it's here. So you see that it gets a little bit challenging because this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's a 5 there. And this is the makings of something. Now, is it an AB? I don't know. But that for sure looks like a 5 of something. So is it 1, 2, a running 2, and that's a 3, and that's a 4, and we're coming down in a 5. So it could be a C wave. And here it punctured, took it back. It could puncture it again and produce a test of the 5,000 level. And then we bounce in an ABC, and we come down and challenge it again. And it goes back up, and we come down a third time. So ABC, X, ABC could happen. Time-wise, we're looking August to, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Sasha, please, at least September, maybe October. So I am going to open this back up so we can look at it in its entirety. If anything, we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, looking for the 5 to at least get below that low, which is 51.20, with a strong potential and a possibility that it will test the 5,000 area, the 5,000 strong, please don't touch me put wall. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Below, if they just punch a hole through it and a flood begins, then those are the levels coming down. And it could still be within a C wave, because if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 can extend. Okay, moving averages. Also following through. Everybody's crossed over the 200 again. And they do that. Okay, let's go over. Okay, let's drop back. And you can see the depth of the 20. Just so strong. And then the 50 is pretty strong. And the 200 is also now kind of careening into it. And that just tells me that we will have continuation. That we have not reached a bottom. All right. So if you need to, please comment on the discussion. And the next, I'm going to leave it there. So, oh, yeah, numbers for tomorrow. We do have stuff coming out. Sorry, let me just take a quick look for Tuesday, the U.S. trade deficit. It is a light week. It's definitely a light week. So, U.S. trade deficit. We'll see what it does. All right, the next update will be on Tuesday, August the 6th.